afternoon, YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully, you guys have had a good start to the weekend here. We're finally done with Nicole here, and today looks like a quiet day. We went over the weekend forecast in yesterday's video. Link to that will be in the top right, by the way. But we're gonna be talking about what could be ahead for most of the second half of this month as we're getting closer and closer towards really December and the start of winter here. So we're just going to go ahead and quickly go over some stuff that I've seen on the forecast models. Some very interesting weather is coming up. But first, we're going to look at the immediate stuff here. As I said in yesterday's video, no real severe weather expected this week. In fact, Sunday, there's not even thunderstorms in the forecast. It's barely any today. In fact, even it's a little bit of activity possible towards Florida and towards southern Maine here. But I think for the most part, it's going to be quiet. There's a little bit of unsettled weather here towards the interior northeast here. A little bit of rain. We'll have to watch out for some snow on the backside of this as this cold front is moving through. There will be a little bit of remnant moisture left over, but nothing of significance. No meso discussions in effect from the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center. But we do have this marginal threat here for Monday, and that's one thing that is kind of interesting with it. It does seem semi-conditional, but I do think overall the ingredients aren't really in place for a major tornado outbreak or severe weather outbreak of any kind. However, when I did go over the synopsis here, it looked like there was a decent upper level trough, that piece of upper level energy that was going to be heading over towards the Gulf Coast states. But the moisture return is going to be kind of lacking a bit. There's going to be plenty of wind shear, and there's a potential for some instability, but it's not the most impressive. So it's conditional. We'll have to see how this progresses here. If things start to trend upward, I do see some potential for maybe a slight risk, but nothing beyond that. There's nothing you can really get behind with this kind of threat here. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to make this kind of forecast right now. But that's what we have going on in the immediate term, days 4 through 8. I looked at that earlier, and there's only a potential too low, so no real severe weather to be concerned about at this time. However, when we go to the vorticity maps here, and we can kind of highlight what's going on here, I do think that there is an increased potential for snow up towards the northern states, the Ohio Valley, and an interesting little system that pops up here that could cause some snow around the Tennessee valleys, and then maybe even a coastal storm. So we'll go ahead and highlight that. So this is us looking at the Euro right now. This is one of my favorite maps to look at, the vorticity map. These really depict the stronger storm systems. We usually look at this from the higher levels. So we have this going along right now. Have this small little shortwave piece of energy here. Could lead to some unsettled weather. Mostly going to be on the colder side. So I'm thinking more cold rain, maybe some wet snow possible around the Ohio Valley. Towards the tail end of that here, we might get some heavy snow on the backside of this for northern Maine here, and we'll verify that in a minute. Oops, I did not want to go that far. So here we are, we're going on to Monday here, and here's our storm system that's going to be responsible for the severe weather potential. But interestingly enough, on the backside of this, looks like we do get a little bit of a wraparound cold air that might be sufficient enough for some snow to pop off here around the interior northeast and the Great Lakes. And then we have a secondary piece of energy that comes in behind it, which drags in more cold air, which could lead to a much heavier snow event for areas around Minnesota, maybe even Wisconsin as well. Over towards the Great Lakes, we have to watch you too. But those are the most prominent things we really have going on here. These small little pieces of energies almost would go as far as to say they're maybe Alberta Clippers. But a couple of these are a little bit stronger than what you would expect with those, so have to watch that real close. Here's yet another system potentially for Minnesota here, and then the Ohio Valley as well, so we'll have to watch you guys for snow over the next 10 days. And then we have to of course, I'm watching this next storm system that's popped up right here around the 21st. Not the most impressive looking, but we always have to watch and see how this trends here. Because once you get into these medium to long range forecasts, the main thing that you look for are trends. You don't really look for anything concrete because it's too far out. So much can easily change with this. But this does look like it has a pretty impressive piece of energy. We'll have to see how this goes, but it looks like towards the second half here, it starts out cold, but we start to warm back up maybe about a week or so now, maybe 10 days. We'll have to see how this progresses, but this could also lead to a bit of a pattern change here and maybe even an increase in severe weather. Let's go ahead and see if this checks out on the precipitation here. Because I love looking at the vorticity map, but everyone's gonna say I don't know what any of this means. I need to look at something that's more familiar. Well, here you go, right here. So if I can get this to behave, there we go. This is what we have going on right now. There's a little shortwave piece of energy right here. It's gonna bring some wraparound snow, and it really starts to pick up around northern Maine by late Sunday night into early Sunday morning. And then once that rolls through, we're shifting our attention over here. And this is where things get interesting, is because right on the north side of this, on the back side of this low pressure system, there is now potential for a little bit of snow, not a lot, but a little bit of snow around the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, and even getting into Kansas here. Here's our severe weather potential right here. And if you look at the mode of this here, we do have line segments. Looks like a little bit of convection, but there also is a little bit of an area where we have potential for some supercells to pop off here. We'll have to see how things progress here. We also get a little bit of ice around Oklahoma City possibly too. This is looking like it's going to be towards Monday afternoon. We'll have to see how this progresses here. But here's another interesting thing to note here. Once we get this low into the Gulf here, looks like there's a little bit of potential for maybe a couple of booms of thunder here and there. But it looks like it's going to be an unsettled Tuesday for the southeast. And the Euro actually has this working its way up the mid-Atlantic and into the northeast, and then it looks like it tries to become a coastal storm, which would actually lead to some snow for the interior northeast. For areas like New York City, maybe Philadelphia, you guys are probably going to be dealing with mostly rain here, or maybe you might even go from snow to rain in Philadelphia. Hard to say right now, given how far out we are. We're still 100, well, almost 100 hours out. It's almost 5 days to talk about. 5 days, so we have a lot to still. We have a lot that can still change with this. But we have this low coming through here, and it looks like Maine is in line for more snow. Move this further along. Things definitely start to look quiet until we get towards the 19th. Maybe some potential for some unsettled weather around the Gulf Coast yet again. And then maybe another potential coastal storm, although this one doesn't look anywhere near as robust right now. Of course, we're looking almost 10 days out at this point, so a lot can change with that. It does look like we start to get back into a little bit of a warming trend here, although it still looks like for a lot of areas we're going to be below average. So we'll see how that progresses here. Let's do a little comparison though. We'll take a look at the GFS. And it's interesting this time because the GFS is actually showing something a little different than what we're used to seeing from it. GFS has usually had a tendency to pick up on these storm systems and often kind of play them to be a little bit stronger than what the Euro does. But not so much this time, especially once we get into the longer range. GFS has had a tendency of being aggressive. And so far, in the short term, we have or short to mid-range, I should say, there's plenty of agreement here. It's really not a lot that I could say is too different, but if anything, once we look at this storm system towards the 18th, between the 15th and the 20th, really, it's not quite as impressive. Normally, like I said, normally the GFS will show something a little bit more aggressive, but interestingly enough, though, it also shows this storm system, while it's not as impressive, showing a little bit of neutral tilt, maybe slightly zonal, which would be interesting. Could lead to another severe outbreak here. I'm not quite sold on it yet, given the fact that we're as far out as we are. We're about 5 to 6 days out at this point, so it's kind of hard to hone in on this kind of stuff. We'll move this forward. This threat kind of diminishes, and then we have what looks to be almost another blast of cold air trying to come through around the 20th, according to the GFS. And then there's another piece of energy, almost a Clipper-like system that comes in around the 21st. And then this is towards the end of what the Euro's range would be, but we'll go ahead and go with the full GFS here. And again, it looks like we start to get towards a warmer pattern around the 22nd to the 23rd. And I think this is when business will start to pick up yet again for severe weather. And what will verify that is this storm system that I'm starting to see pop up right here. That cold air started to retreat back to the north. We have a trough trying to dig once more to the south here. I do think conditions aren't going to be quite as favorable as of right now, just based off of this read. But things can easily change. Not to mention we're 288 hours out, almost looking 2 weeks out at this point. So it's really hard to kind of latch on to that kind of stuff, to a run that goes out this far. But towards the 25th, it's a really robust storm system that comes in. And then pattern looks like it's going to start to get active again towards the end of November. And we'll have to watch out, especially if this run trend continues to trend as is, or trends even stronger than that. But it also looks like we'll start to get back into a cold pattern toward right at the very end of the month. But again, this is at the full length of the GFS, 384 hours out. So there's still a lot to be determined here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what everybody's more familiar with, and that is the precip stuff here. So as of right now, GFS has this little bit warmer, this system being a little bit warmer, but the same result for the most part. Interior snow for the northeast. We get towards the 20th, it looks a little bit quieter on the GFS versus the Euro. Towards the 24th is something a little bit more interesting. Mainly going to be more of a rain event. And then once we get into the Thanksgiving time frame, it looks like the pattern picks back up, and we'll have to be watching the northwest for potentially a new winter storm. But really, that's all I got for you guys here. If you liked what I did in this video, definitely drop a like. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are with this current view that we have towards the second half of the month. And what are you going to be doing to prepare for any storm system on Thanksgiving? I would hope, or I would like to think, that you wouldn't really want to do anything outside, since it looks like most of the country is going to be below average for this other half of November here. But different strokes for different folks, that's what I say. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm just trying to finish out the year strong. I don't necessarily know if I have a goal, if it's maybe 120, 150 subs. It's reaching a bit, but hey, I'll take whatever I can get. But anyway, enough rambling from me. This has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have more content out this week. Also appreciate everybody who voted on the poll here, and I'll have that video up for you guys shortly. But I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good Saturday.